Hi, and welcome to cloudThing Answers. I'm joined today by Mike Eckersley, who is one of our business architects. Hello, Mike. So today we are here to talk about business architecture.
Okay.
So to kick us off, can you just tell us a little bit about who you are, your background, and what you do at cloudThing?
Okay, my name's Mike Eckersley and I'm a business architect. I've been working in the IT sector for more years than I care to remember, probably about 20, 25 years now, in a variety of different industries. I've worked in the housing sector, I've worked in construction, I've worked in consulting for Capita, and then ultimately to cloudThing here and now. So I've been a head of IT, so I've run IT departments. I've done the business side of it, the strategy, and I set up the first 4G public access broadband network in the UK in Scunthorpe, so I wrote all the business plans for that. So I've got a foot in both camps, if you like.
You can talk the business talk, and you can talk the tech talk. So I suppose business architecture is probably seen differently in different organisations, with different levels of priority depending on what they do. I suppose, where does business architecture fit into the projects we do at cloudThing?
Well, right at the beginning, that's the first thing. It has to come right at the beginning. Quite often it doesn't, and we end up going in after the event, and it's harder to convince a client of the benefits of it when that happens. But if we get in right at the beginning, we can make a real difference to inform the story writing, and get better stories that are aligned with exactly what the client wants and the business benefits that they expect the solution to deliver.
So when you say stories, that's in the development project, taking on the voice of the users. This is what the business needs. These are the stories of what needs to be delivered.
Very much so. It's about taking the persona of a particular type of user, and then working out what it is that they want and why they want it. And that's the story writing process. So what we do, because we go in and we understand what the business is trying to achieve and what the actual users at the coalface are trying to achieve, we can then speak to the solution architects who write those stories and actually give them that information to write a much better story.
So you're almost on the side, you're the voice of the customer at cloudThing almost. You kind of understand them. And
it's, as I said earlier on, you've got a foot in both camps to a great extent. You have to be in there, and it's about getting under the skin of the client's business very, very quickly. So you really get a deep understanding of the client's company, how they operate, what their business processes are, what their structures are, so that you can feed that to the solution architect when he's writing the story.
So you mentioned convincing the client of the benefits. What would you say the benefits are of a good piece of business architecture work to a project as a whole and to a customer?
Well, a good business architecture can save a business hundreds of thousands of pounds. Excuse me, and I've done that myself on several occasions in previous organisations. We've saved them hundreds of thousands per year, simply by removing waste and inefficiencies and maximising the automation possibilities of the solution. So, because I know what Dynamics can do, that allows me to say to a customer's staff when we examine their business process, why don't you do it this way? Because if we do it this way, we can then get Dynamics or the system to do X, Y, and Z steps, which remove somebody having to manually key stuff in, and it automates things. And the minute you automate things, you remove errors, you remove waste, and you make the whole thing more efficient.
So you mentioned the magic P word before we started filming, and I suppose it's making business processes more efficient, but also making the processes within the technology more efficient to maximise.
Absolutely, it's a bit of both. I mean, we start by holding structured workshops to understand all their business processes, starting out with how they do it now, and as distinct from how they think they do it now. It's what actually happens at the coalface, because very often you go in and you talk to the managers and they'll give you a piece of paper that's got a business process on it, say that's how we do it. And then when you get down and talk to the guys, they say, well, we kind of do it that way, but we have to download this this data into a spreadsheet and manipulate it a little bit, and then we upload it somewhere else. And when Mavis does it, she's got another little bit that she has to do. So you map all of this out and you find out what they're actually doing. And once you've established that, then you can start looking at the process, and we call it looking for sources of variation and waste, because a good process is done the same way every time, whoever does it. It's a standard process. Where there's variation in the way that the process operates, that's straight away where you're going to get problems, you're going to get quality concerns, you're going to get waste. And then once we've got a standard process, then we start to look at where the waste occurs. And we've got various mnemonics and models about different kinds of waste that we use because I don't do it. All I do is facilitate this stuff. So I will get the actual operators, the process operators, to tell me where the waste is and where they have concerns. And very often they've already got those ideas themselves because they're doing it every day. So we can then, once we've identified all of that waste, we can strip it away, and then that's the as-is process done. We then go back and have another session with them where we look at the to-be process, and that's where we streamline the process and sort of evolve it into a new process that takes account of the dynamics capability. That's where we start slotting in the automated steps and removing manual stuff.
Yeah, so I suppose it's, when you've got as is, it's then stripping away all those unnecessary steps and everything, saying, in an ideal world, this is how it should be, this is how it could be, once we've delivered all the technology that we need to make that happen.
Yeah, very often I'll start with a blank sheet of paper on a flip chart and say, okay, we now know how it's done. Tell me how you'd like it to do. And it's quite difficult because they look at you, they stare at you all scared, and it's like bunnies in a headlight because they've got this blank sheet of paper. So you've got to then lead them on a little bit. But what we want to do is if you had a proverbial magic wand, how would you like this to operate? And very often we say, well, you can. And it's great at the end of a session because they can see then just how much better their lives are going to be when this new system comes in. And all of that, as a kind of a side effect of that, it massively improves the buy-in when we come to implement the new system, because instead of having that resistance to change and people trying to find fault with a new solution, which they often do if they've not been involved, you've now got a load of people who are really, really motivated and can't wait to see this new solution that they've helped to design and that they've written the processes for.
Yeah, I suppose it helps them see that it's for them, it's for the users at the end. If they've been involved and they've voiced their concerns, they don't feel like.
And they know that they know where the problems are in the processes that they're operating. So you've got an ideal situation where, with a little bit of help, they've improved that process and made it more efficient.
So what would you say makes a good business architect?
Well, me, obviously. It's about, I think it's that blend really of experience, of business knowledge and of system knowledge. I think the ability to quickly form relationships with staff that you've never met before. And you do have to do that. You've got to, you can't just bound into a room and expect everybody to like you and get on with you. You've got to work on that. So sometimes it's about using a little bit of humour. It's about judging your audience, judging the level of ability, shall we say, of the people that you're working with, and then quickly forming those relationships with them, constructively challenging them, but bringing them along with you at the same time.
I suppose it's developing trust quite quickly as well. It's, you've got to sell them that you know what you're talking about and you're on their side.
You've got to have that credibility, absolutely. There's no point me going in there and saying, I don't really know if we can do that in Dynamics, we quite often go in as a double act, Pierce and myself, which is great because clearly he knows far more about Dynamics than I ever will. But and sometimes he'll yank me back, and other times I'll be prodding him and saying, yeah, come on, I know it's hard, but you can do it. So we've got that thing going there. And I mean, that worked particularly well in South Africa, where we were dealing with quite big groups and lots of them, and they were back-to-back workshops. So it enabled us to just keep that momentum going.
Yeah, keep the double act going.
Yeah, absolutely.
The mic and feel. So I suppose, in a nutshell, it's about making the users more efficient, bringing them on side, and making the tech better at doing that by understanding what the users actually are looking for.
It's a little bit of that. It's about getting to understand what the user wants, what the business wants out of the software, but doing it in a way that maximises the capabilities of the software, because we know what Dynamics can do and we know what the business is trying to do or trying to achieve. We can make the two come together so that they really sweat the asset that they're buying. They invest an awful lot of money into a new solution, So what my job really is to do is to make sure that they get the best out of that, and that any business case that they've built at the beginning to say this new solution is going to save us X amount of money, therefore we can afford to spend that. What my job is to do is to make sure it does save them that money, and that the business case is realised at the end of the day.
Yeah, from day one as well, I suppose. Yeah. You know, it's not trying to, because we spent this money, we need to make it work. It's making it work when it lands.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes the other challenge is to make sure that it keeps saving the money, because when you do process improvement, it's very, very easy to come out with this new shiny process that everybody thinks, oh wow, that's great, but run it for 6 months and already it starts to slide back to the way we used to do it. So it's really important when you standardise these new processes that you lock that change in, you lock that improvement in by making it standard.
Right. Well, I think we'll leave it there. We could talk all day, but it's really interesting stuff, so thanks very much for your time, and thanks everyone for watching. Hope that was useful. That's business architecture in a nutshell. Thank you.
Cheers.